the CloudMonster, a new daily trainer in my lineup from a brand I've never used in my life. Does this shoe live up to its hype, or is this just another brand that's going to fade from existence? Let's talk about it. So before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're already subscribed, watching the content. Thanks so much, love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all sorts of other updates and things like that. So without further ado, let's begin. Specs somewhere on the top where you can see them. And I guess before we get into the actual shoe review itself, I guess let's talk about Outsole. From as I've observed historically, and I've heard from friends and especially like my lady friend of what's going on with this thing. So this thing's been around since at least I think 2018, 2019 as a company. I've seen the shoes and they have of course this interesting outsole that kind of sticks out with it with this hexagonal pattern foam that kind of runs the shoe length, which makes it unique and I would say from a nature perspective kind of interesting. Mostly because this is where we get into debate topics. I'll get to that piece later, but again, the hexagonal shape of the outsole heel and forefoot areas of the shoe kind of makes the brain believe that there's a structural integrity with this particular type of thing. And I know that in 2019 or 18, whenever it was, when the shoe was released, I think Lululemon had this shoe launched as a partnership. And this thing totally flopped. I think runners did not like this shoe at all. They hated it. They loved the concept of what was going on. Maybe some people thought the design was kind of tacky or bulky, but there was just a product that was not good for running, simply. This was just aesthetic as best as it could get, and there was a lot of R&D that still needed to occur in the background. And now we fast forward to 2024, and this here, the CloudMonster, I've been seeing gets a lot of hype, so I needed to kind of check in for this myself as this will be the first On shoe I've ever tried and just kind of get an idea of what was going on. You know, did I miss out on previous On shoes, or coming in at this time is the right time, and that's kind of what we have here, right? So first things I guess to discuss spec-wise, this is size 8.5. I have this shoe at about 9.7 ounces. That's like 280, 285 grams on average. We do have a heel of about 30 millimeters. We have a forefoot about 26, giving it a 4 millimeter offset, which has two really good features for myself personally. One, it's kind of steering away from, again, in my opinion, a high stack shoe, and it runs itself into more of a medium stack, okay? Having a 30 millimeter versus something with a 35 or 40 millimeter heel, I think reduces the height from the ground overall, despite the illusion of what's going on with this foam in general, okay? And then what else is good is having that 4 millimeter offset now prevents the shoe from going outwards and leaning into a high heel and gives you more of a natural kind of strike. 4 millimeters is right about where somebody with my particular running form should have a daily trainer, and now I've experimented with this in terms of the Metaspeed Sky Plus for racing, and there's a lot of development that still needs to happen for my running form to be perfect there. But in terms of a daily trainer ride, there's some cool things we'll discuss there when we get there, right? Other things to note, we do have a fairly simple polyester textile mesh upper that On is using. Very simple pieces in my opinion. You know, it's got just some breathable ports here in the front of the shoe by the toe box. We have overall a very simple, I guess, a shoelace pattern of just loop eyelid shoelace burgundy pieces, just kind of keeping the shoelace in a very simplistic pattern. We have a simple sort of gusseted tongue, but not really. It's mostly just less materials and just kind of has its regular shape just running across. And the one deceptive piece is, again, the CloudMonster tag that's running the duration of the shoe. It is offset a little bit to give it that gusseted look, and it kind of confuses me when I tie it. I like to think that's supposed to go straight down across, but because it's going up to the side, kind of an illusion in that sense. So in terms of Swiss engineering across the shoe, I would say the simplicity is good. And then of course we got our little Swiss tag there in the back. And yeah, it's that's the upper. Now when we go into the outsole and the rubber and the foam associated with this thing, this is where things, I guess, become more appealing for the eye. So first I'll ask the debate question, and then we'll get back into the specs. So this is just as a means of having some fun in the YouTube comment section here. I had this debate with the lady friend in terms of the strongest shapes in nature, okay? I figured and I thought that it was going to be the hexagon, okay? It's a six-sided structure that bees use in nature to make honeycombs. Humans in the aerospace industry have figured out that making airplane wings, you have like your fiberglass or your plastic coverings across the wings, whatever sheet metal it may be. Underneath those wings, we have a reinforced cardboard hexagon shaped structures underneath it. And this is what I think, again, this is just my opinion as a cybersecurity engineer, what I believe is the strongest shape in nature. Now, the lady friend believes it's the triangle, and I can totally understand why, because there's less points on the triangle, and you can the triangle is a little bit more malleable in terms of being able to stack in various shapes. So again, that's the debate question that I will turn over to the YouTube comment section. Overall, which one is stronger, and am I wrong for assuming the hexagon may be stronger opposed to the triangle? Cool, we get that out of the way. Let's weave this back in, right? On choosing the hexagon, Outsole is a really cool choice in my opinion, because again, there is a structural integrity to it. It's aesthetically kind of funny to look at. I think personally it's really cool if it's executed well, and in this case I think it has been. And as a result, it's good to probably assume that this will reduce weight of the shoe overall and give you structural integrity and hopefully a decent lifespan in the shoe as well. Other things to note here is we do just have a lot of rubber padding, which is adding some weight to the shoe. Not opposed to that. It's a daily trainer, right? And then the other piece here, working in tandem with the Helion Cloud foam outsole, which is just one piece going the duration of the shoe, is we have a carbon plate. It's called the Speedboard, and I'm not sure if this Speedboard existed in previous renditions when the shoe was beginning its genesis and it just absolutely sucked. It's hard to say. I don't know. I didn't try any On shoes in 2019, long before this channel even existed, right? So, the Helion foam working in tandem with this Speedboard. What's the result? And I'll say this just as my opinion. This is the honeymoon run, which is the first one I did. It's about 5 miles. I was able to hold a 7:10, 7:15 pace relatively easy. And another thing that was noticeable about the ride itself was it didn't feel high impact on my knees or joints. Like, I was able to get that Hoka 2020, 2021 cloud, running on cloud kind of feeling in the shoes, right? Or running on clouds, whatever it is. Yeah, it's on CloudMonster, duh. But like, you know what I'm talking about, right? You were like running on clouds in previous Hoka shoes, and I was able to do that in the CloudMonster. I was able to have that comfortable daily trainer ride, so I was able to tone it back a little bit. But if I wanted to kick it, the Speedboard was working well in tandem with this foam, had good energy return. I had a good leg spin cycle. What is my laundry machine? We had a good turnover. And as a result, I think as a daily trainer, this shoe so far, in the first 5 miles I've had with it, was actually really cool. And I'm not surprised based on the CloudMonster's, not hype, but the overall, I guess, community expression I've heard about this thing, that this might be like the breakthrough cloud shoe or on shoe that exists in the market within like this cloud series. And I think as a result, I'm going to continue working with the shoe. I'll keep it. I'm going to work with it into the 50, 100, 250 plus miles, see what happens with it, because I do have a couple of some concerns just right off the rip, So this simple polyester, I'm curious how long this upper is going to last, despite how simplistic it looks, because it does look not cheap, but it doesn't look super reinforced in sections. Like, some of the textile is really odd, and this might not be a Swiss problem. This could be a made in Vietnam kind of issue here, where like, we have like these little decals, right, where the stitching is kind of popping out in weird places. It seems to align in a couple of other spots there as well. Like, there's reinforced stitching in these areas, and I don't know if that's intentionally designed this way or it's just poor build, kind of like Nike shoes when they get manufactured. I think it was in like Mexico. That's where some of those shoes start to have some of their issues, opposed to being made overseas. You kind of get a different quality of product. I don't know if that's what's going on here necessarily. One of the other things, I think it's this shoe, and I hope we can see it. Yeah, I really hope the light works here. If not, I'll shine my iPhone through it. But inside where the speedboard is, we have like a glue or polyester sticking out from this specific hole in the shoe. And I can see it when I look through the lens of, or like through this perspective. I guess we will shine the iPhone through this, perhaps this way. We'll see if this works. Can you guys like see that at all? Perhaps maybe like this? I have like kind of a webbing of the glue or the plastic structure still kind of sticking in the hexagon. I don't know if that's going to be a big deal because, again, it is just part of the plate. It's not a direct, I guess, impact to the foam, but I am curious to see what's going to happen in the long term with this particular feature for the shoe, okay? So that's my main concern, is just the manufacturing quality and how long this thing is going to last, right? The price point for this thing was like 170, 180 bucks, so it's just slightly cheaper than the Pegasus Turbo Plus from Nike, which that shoe did not have a carbon plate. It did have that ZoomX running the duration of the shoe, and overall I was happy with that shoe, but this one is something else right now. So as we continue putting miles into this thing, I'm curious how long it's going to last. And I'm curious to see if the CloudMonster is everything that people are saying about it, and if it can live up to it, the hype that I'm kind of giving it now, that this is actually a really awesome daily trainer as of right now. So I think we'll leave it at that. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree. Do you guys like this color scheme? This is the only one I could buy in my size, which is kind of like this nature color of like this green, and we got like this burgundy, maybe brown kind of duration of pieces of rubber on the shoe. So I don't know, it's kind of cool as it stands right now. And then again, the question I had in nature, is it the hexagon, is it the triangle, is it a combination of both, does it depend? Let's start some fights in my channel. Let's have you guys rib at me for saying the hexagon as opposed to the triangle. So I think we'll leave it at that. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.